Hello there, it's Andy Ewens from FormaServe once again. In this short how-to on IBM I video, we'll be taking a look at IDEs, Integrated Development Environments, the tool to use with open source development. We have lots of options. Long gone are the days when we fired up SEU as the only choice we had. The selection of a good IDE is a very important step on your development roadmap. Each IDE has a way of working, so choose your IDE wisely and stick with it. It's not worth the learning curve of changing every 5 minutes. Let me give you our recommendations and get on with this video. What options do we have? Where do we start? To be honest, we have lots of options, some chargeable, some free. We have NetBeans, now part of the Apache project, has been used for many years for PHP development. RDI, you might already have a license for this. Microsoft Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio Code, Notepad++, and you could, if you are really cruel to yourself, use 5250 edit file, EDTF. Both RDI and Visual Studio are chargeable, the rest are free of charge options. I'm going to show you my favourite IDE, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. What is Visual Studio Code, or VS Code from now on? VS Code was developed by Microsoft for Windows in 2015, so it's been around a few years now. The lead developers were part of the Eclipse IDE platform, so there are some similarities there. It is a light version of its commercial Visual Studio product and is open source. VS Code is a cross-platform, multi-language code editor which can be used for PHP and Node.js development on the IBM I. The VS Code IDE can be downloaded from code.visualstudio.com. Let's take a look at that. And its GitHub repository, so where all the code lives. VS Code's GitHub repository is at github/Microsoft/VS Code. Here you can help with development as you can with any other open source project. If we click on the Issues tab, we can see any problems people have had or report any issues. Let me open Visual Studio. I have VS Code Insiders installed on my PC, which gives me the latest build. As I said earlier, the lead developers worked on the Eclipse project, so as we can see, the IDE looks very similar to RDI. We have an Explorer pane on the left hand side, with the main code window quite rightly taking up most of the screen. So here we can see some temporal tables SQL, and no, we're not covering that today. So what options do we have for connecting to the IBM I then? We have three connectivity options. The first one is mapping a drive within Windows. The second one is using SFTP. And the third one is using SSH. Let me go through each of these with you. We can map a drive to our IFS and then open it up in code. Nice and easy. We'll take a look at that. Enter the IFS file share name. So now we have the X drive that's directly mapped into our IFS folder. Let me find my X drive. We can right click now on that folder and then select VS Code Insiders. And away we go. VS Code now opens in that folder for us. So straight into the X drive. And double clicking on this JSON file opens it up for us. So that's the first option out the way, using a map drive. The next two include a feature called extensions. These are the VS Code equivalent of the Eclipse workspace plugins. We use Visual Studio Code extensions to add new features, themes and lots more. Let me open up extensions by clicking on this icon or Ctrl+Shift+X. Here we can see the extensions I've already installed. If I want to install another theme, I can search for them. I prefer the light themes, to be honest, had the last 40 years with a dark theme of green on black. The first extension is to help us to connect to our server is an SFTP extension. This extension will allow us to develop locally. Then on save, it would auto-save to our IFS. So if we put SFTP into the extension search box, we get all of the SFTP options. Another method is to use a SSH client. This is the option which I use. Let me have a quick word about the first one on the list, the Microsoft option. This has been out for about 6 months now, and unfortunately it doesn't work with the IBM IFS. There is an issue open for this, opened by Liam Allen. Hopefully it will be fixed soon. The one I'm going to select is the second one on the list, SSFS. SSH File Systems. I already have this installed. I'll open up the config for this extension, or you could use Control comma. Here we can see the SSH config, the name of the host, username and password, and the root directory. So once the extension has been installed and configured, we can see another option in our Explorer view, SSH File Systems. So if we expand that, we can see our server. Right click on it and then take the option to connect as a workspace folder. We can now see all IFS folders and away we go. I'll open up our README for this presentation where we can make any changes. One other note on VS Code is we can open a shell directly in the IDE without leaving the editor. We can use Control and apostrophe. This will open the view for us. By default it uses the Microsoft PowerShell, but you can change this if you want, just using the drop down. Mine is using the Git Bash client, as we can see. Well, that wraps up a quick insight into Visual Studio Code. There's loads and loads of resources on the web for VS Code, so that was just a quick insight, but hopefully it's got you going and a bit excited about it. A very good editor. And that wraps up this quick video. Thank you for watching our how-to on IBM i video set. I hope you found them useful. Keep checking out our website learning.formaserve.co.uk and our YouTube channel. We regularly add new ones. Stay safe and we'll see you soon. Thank you.